Capcom. When we think of the name Capcom, we think of a Japanese video game developer and publisher that has released so many beloved video games to the world. And you're right to think that. That's exactly what they are, because Capcom Company Limited, or Capcom Co. Ltd, is a Japanese video game developer and publisher. Capcom has created blockbuster franchises and sold a large volume of games in the millions, with some of the big ones being Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Street Fighter, Mega Man, Devil May Cry, and Dead Rising. Established in 1979, it has risen to become an international enterprise powerhouse, with offices all over the world in Asia, Europe, and North America. To understand how Capcom has become a big-time international gaming developer and publisher, today we need to go back to where it all began and see the journey of how it became what it is today. On May 30th, 1979, Capcom's predecessor, IRM Corporation, was founded by Kenzo Tutsumoto. Tutsumoto was still president of IM Corporation, a Japanese video game console developer and publisher. When he founded IRM, Tutsumoto worked at both companies until leaving IM Corporation in 1983. The original companies that spawned Capcom Japan branch were IRM as well as daughter company Japan Capsule Computer Company Limited, both of which were devoted to the manufacturing and distribution of electronic gaming machines. The two companies underwent a name change to Sunbi Company Limited in September 1981, while Capcom Company Limited was first established on June 11, 1983 by Kenzo Tutsumoto for the purpose of taking over the international sales department. In January 1989, the old affiliate company, Capcom Company Limited, merged with Sunbi Company Limited, resulting in the current Japanese branch. The name Capcom is a clip compound of capsule computers, a term coined by the company to describe the arcade machines it had solely manufactured in its early years, designed to set themselves apart from personal computers that were becoming widespread at the time. The word capsule hinted on how Capcom considered its gaming software to a capsule packed to the brim with gaming fun, as well as to company's desire to protect the intellectual property with a hard outer shell, preventing illegal copies and inferior imitation. While Capcom's first product was a coin-operated arcade game, Little League, from July 1983, its first real arcade video game, Vulgus, was released in May 1984. Starting with arcade hits 1942, in 1984, Capcom began designing games with international markets in mind. With the popularity of 1985's arcade game Commando and Ghouls and Goblins, has been credited as a product that shot Capcom's to 8-bit silicon stardom in the mid-1980s. Starting with Commando in late 1985, Capcom began licensing their arcade games for release on home computers, notably to British software house Elite Systems and US Gold in the late 1980s. Beginning with a Nintendo Entertainment System port of 1942, published in December 1985, the company started to venture into the market of home computer video games, which would eventually become its main business segment in later decades. Its division, Capcom USA, had a brief stint in the late 1980s as a video game publisher for the Commodore 64 and IBM PC DOS computers, although the development of these arcade ports were handled by other companies. Capcom went on to create 15 popular home video game blockbuster franchises, with the best-selling franchise being Resident Evil, introduced in 1996. While Capcom's highest-grossing video game is a fighting game Street Fighter II from 1991, largely driven by its popularity in arcades. Capcom has been noted as the last major publisher to be committed to 2D games, although this is not entirely by choice. The company's commitment to the Super Nintendo Entertainment System as its platform of choice has caused them to lag behind other leading publishers in developing 3D capable arcade boards. In addition, the 2D animated cartoon style graphics seen in games such as Darkstalker The Night Warrior and X-Men Children of the Atom, proved popular, leading Capcom to implement it as the signature style and use it in more of their games. In 1994, Capcom adapted its Street Fighter series of fighting games into a film of the same name. While being able to sell multi-million copies, it was critically panned. A 2002 adaptation of its Resident Evil series faced similar criticism, but was also successful in theaters. The company sees films as a way to build sales for its video games. The company partnered with New Media in 2011 to publish and distribute the Japanese independent game that New localized into the English language. Capcom worked with the Polish localization company Kula to port Capcom's games to other platforms. Notable examples are Devil May Cry PC version and its PlayStation 4 and Xbox One remastered, Dragon's Dogma PC version released in January 2016, and Dead Rising version on PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC released on September 13, 2016. On August 27, 2014, Capcom filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Koei Tecmo Games at the Osaka District Court for 980 million yen in damages. Capcom claimed Koei Tecmo Games infringed a patent it had obtained in 2002 regarding play features in video games. On the 2nd of November 2020, the company reported that its servers were affected by ransomware, scrambling its data. The Rachel Locker hacker group had allegedly stolen 1 terabyte of sensitive corporate data and were blackmailing Capcom to pay them to remove the ransomware. By mid-November, the group began putting information from the online hack, which included contact information for up to 350,000 employees and partners of the company, as well as plans for upcoming games, indicating that Capcom opted to not pay the group. Capcom did confirm that no credit card or similar financial information was obtained by the hack. In the first few years after its establishment, the Japanese branch of Capcom had 3 development groups referred to as planning rooms, led by Takuro Fujiwara, Takashi Nishiyama, and Yoshiki Okimoto, respectively. Later games developed internally used to be created by several number of production studios, each assigned to a different game. Starting in 2002, the development process was reformed to better share technologies and expertise, and all of the individual studios were gradually restructured into bigger departments responsible for different tasks. While there are self-contained departments for the creation of arcade games, pachinko and pasisiro online and mobile games, the Consumer Games Research and Development Division is made up of many smaller groups that are in charge of various game development stages. Capcom uses 3 divisions to develop games. These divisions are the Consumer Games Development Division 1, headed by Jun Takuchi, with Resident Evil, Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Dead Rising, and other major franchises, usually targeted towards a global audience. The Consumer Games Development Division 2, headed by Yozo Tutimoto, who also heads Mobile Online Development Division, with Monster Hunter, Onimusha, Ace Attorney, Sengoku Basara, and other franchises with more traditional IP. This division usually creates games targeted towards Asian audience. And finally, the Consumer Games Development Division 3, with Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Lost Planet, Dragon's Dogma, and other online focused franchises. Games that are mainly focused on online multiplayer and tournaments. Besides having these 3 internal development teams, Capcom also commissions outside development studios to ensure a steady output of titles. However, following poor sales of Dark Void and Bionic Commando, the company's management has decided to limit outsourcing to sequels and newer versions of installments in existing franchises, reserving the development of original titles for its in-house team. What goes into a game, the amount of budget towards that game, and the platform supported are decided upon in development-approved meetings, attended by the company's management and the marketing, sales, and quality control department. Now let's take a closer look at some of the popular games that Capcom has developed over the years. Starting with the Street Fighter franchise in 1987. The Street Fighter series of fighting games are among the most popular in their genre, having sold over 46 million units worldwide as of March 2021. The series serves as one of Capcom's flagship franchises. That same year, the company introduced its Mega Man series, which has sold over 36 million units worldwide as of March 31st, 2021. Capcom released the first entry in its Resident Evil survival horror series in 1996. The series has achieved financial success and became its most successful video game franchise to date, selling more than 110 million units worldwide as of March 31st, 2021. After releasing the second game in the Resident Evil series, Capcom began working on a Resident Evil game for the PlayStation 2. However, this game was dramatically different from the existing series. Capcom decided to spin off the game into its own series, Devil May Cry. While the first three games were exclusive for the PlayStation 2, afterwards Capcom expanded into non-Sony consoles. The Devil May Cry series as a whole has seen sales of over 23 million units worldwide as of March 31st, 2021. Capcom began its Monster Hunter series of games in 2021. The Monster Hunter series has seen sales of more than 72 million units sold worldwide as of March 31st, 2021 on a variety of consoles. Although Capcom often relies on existing franchises, it also published and developed several titles for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 and Wii, based on original intellectual property. Games like Lost Planet, Extreme Condition, Dead Rising, Dragon's Dogma, Asura's Wrath, and Zack and Wiki. During this period, Capcom also helped publish several original titles from its up-and-coming Western developers, with titles like Remember Me, Dark Void, and Spyborgs, titles that many other publishers were not willing to take a chance on. As a company, Capcom has had its fair share of criticism and controversy over the years. In 2012, Capcom came under criticism for controversial sales tactics, such as the implementation of disc-locked content, which required players to pay for additional content that is already available within the game's file, most notably in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Capcom has defended this practice. Capcom has also been criticized for other business decisions, such as not releasing certain games outside of Japan, most notably the Sengoku Basara series. Capcom was also criticized for suddenly cancelling anticipated projects. One big letdown was Mega Man Legends 3. In 2015, the PlayStation 4 version of Ultra Street Fighter 4 was pulled from the Capcom Pro Tour due to numerous technical issues and gameplay bugs. In 2016, Capcom released Street Fighter 5 with very limited single-player content. At launch, there were stability issues with the game network that booted players mid-game, even when they were not playing in an online mode. Street Fighter V failed to meet its sales target of 2 million in March 2016. In June 2021, artist and author Judy Jurasek filed a lawsuit against Capcom for copyright infringement. In the court filing, Jurasek accused that Capcom had used images from her 1996 book Surface in various parts of their cover art and other assets for Resident Evil 4, Devil May Cry, and other games. This was discovered due to the 2020 Capcom data breach, with several files and images matching those that were included in the book's companion CD. One of the image files of a metal surface named ME0009 in Capcom's file had the exact same name on the book's CD-ROM. Jurasek was seeking over $12 million in damage and between $2,500 to $25,000 in false copyright management for each news photograph by Capcom. Capcom has also been accused by Dutch movie director Richard Rephorst of copying the monster design from his movie Frankenstein Army into their game Resident Evil Village. Not sure what Capcom will bring in the future. but I'm sure there'll be plenty of more sequels to their beloved franchises and new IPs in the future. Let's hope that Capcom will continue to make blockbuster games that are going to entertain us gamers for years to come.